It's 30 years since the Soviet Union began an almost decade-long war in Afghanistan. Today, war in the country still rages, but this time it's from the firepower of the US and its allies. They're rapidly building up an Afghan security force, but veterans of the fight against the Mujahideen feel their skills are being overlooked. They fear the new recruits won't be able to improve security in the country. Paula Sleer reports.
Zaban Dast Safi feels abandoned and forgotten by his country. He spent 28 years protecting it as a soldier, but now worries it can't protect his children. Zaban was the first in his family to become an officer in the Afghan National Army, a source of much pride for his father and grandfather. His military training finished 3 months before the Soviets arrived.
The Soviet Union did not invade Afghanistan. They did not attack us. They were invited by the president to be here as a friend of our country. I used to think we had the ability to defeat our enemies by ourselves, but all we had was old guns and weapons. The Soviet Union provided us with Kalashnikovs, Makarovs, and new tanks.
Today, Zaban has precious little to show for his years of service. His family is poor. They live in 2 rooms in a rundown building in an old part of Kabul. He ekes out a living from a small shop selling odds and ends. But business is bad, so he spends most of his time at home.
Yes, I feel my country has forgotten about me. The Americans don't want to keep experienced and educated people in the Afghan National Army and police. They're training illiterates. They train them for 3 to 5 weeks. You can't even learn how to use a weapon in that time. The new recruits can be so easily manipulated. They don't know what they're doing, who they're fighting, and so the security situation is getting worse.
In an attempt to free his country from the rule of the gun, Zaban handed in his weapon under the United Nations Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Program 4 years ago. Thousands of other former soldiers did the same, but like him, they are now jobless and disillusioned.
America says it wants to withdraw its forces, but this is not true. When we fought with the Russians, there were a few Russian soldiers on each patrol. Now, if 20 Afghan National Army soldiers are fighting, then there are about 200 American soldiers fighting with them. Americans want to train their soldiers here. They've received the theory, but here is the practice. They can train in the mountains and implement their policies, capture Pakistan and reach India. At least the communists were working honestly.
America insists it's helping to train and equip Afghans to defend themselves. But as Zaban sits at home each day, he can't help but wonder why he's being left out of the equation. Paula Sleer, RT, Kabul.